So far you've been the most excited about seeing here?
I'm pretty pumped, man.
Jake Kurtz alongside myself, Matt Kelly, and Nate Maas. Little George St. Pierre looking dude.
Nate
taking on Chris the Monster Mohr out of Premier Combat Center.
And Nate is a perfect example of why some people need sports in their life. Coming from the background of a religious family, his dad's a minister and a very, I guess, hardcore, judgmental family on him. MMA is his vent, and it's keeping him in society and keeping him sane. And then the brotherhood involved is his family now.
Well, and that would make sense, his nickname, the Preacher's Son. So
there you go.
Nate, the Preacher's Son, Maas, and Maas.
He got taken down there, kind of a slide sideways, ended up right down into the side mount now. Chris Mohr is starting to control him. He's got good control so far. Now he's got it weaved into a half guard.
Nate Maas out of Unrivaled Sports Performance and Menifee Boxing down in Lincoln, Nebraska. Chris Mohr out of the often mentioned Premier Combat Center here in Omaha, Nebraska. Mohr, a stand-up fighter per himself, and said his brother was a boxer.
Yeah, his brother was a pro boxer. He says he feels a little more comfortable on his feet, but, being at Premier and he's been working with Dwayne Johnson, it's hard not to feel comfortable on the ground when you're working with those guys every day.
So Nate Maas pretty much controlling round number 1 so far of this 5th fight here at Dynasty Combat Sports 6, the future. Dave Jobin overseeing the 5th fight.
Nate's doing a good job of controlling here. What he needs to do, though, he needs to get that leg out. He needs to get out of that half guard. He needs to position on the side mount and get hip control.
And Mohr wants to keep Maas in that half guard if he can, correct?
Yeah, he wants to either tilt him or he wants to go to full guard, one or the other. That's right. He doesn't want to expose his back. He doesn't want to roll through. But once again, Nate's doing his job here, keeping control and not letting him get overextended. He's not going to be effective in striking if he doesn't get that leg out.
And the idea would be to swing it out and then full mount, but Mohr looks like Maas is going for that.
Looks like he's setting up a guillotine dropping his hips. Yeah. He needs to drop his hips and then recoil back up into guard if he's got it in deep right now. Now he needs to go to guard. Just jump to guard right there. Get it in deep. Get your legs around him.
Nate Maas takes him down, and
Chris
Mohr slips it out. And now Mohr in the dominant position, and Maas looking to
nice
get
elbow.
the full guard.
Nice elbow there that Chris landed right there before the end of the round. So, that's pretty even round to me. I think I'll probably give it to Nate. He had a little more top control.
Well, Fight for Something is a new line of unique martial arts-inspired clothing with a cause. Their Series 1 collection features over a dozen men's and women's designs as well as signature fighter tees. Fight for Something uses $2.50 from every shirt sold to support various fighters' charities and to help make a difference in the community. Check them out on Facebook at www.fightforsomething.com to get your gear today and help support some amazing causes. Alongside Jake Kurtz, I'm Matt Kelly from Ramada and Cocoa Keys Water Resort here in Omaha, Nebraska for Dynasty Combat Sports 6, the future. And that is a look at Chris Mohr's corner. Danny Molina cornering Chris Mohr out of Premier Combat Center, and Nate Maas on the other side, the young man that looks a little bit like George St. Pierre. Now, if he could only fight like him, right?
He's doing a good job. Here's a funny deal. You said Danny Molina. He got his nose broke by the same kid he's cornering the other day. That's love right there.
Yes.
Kid breaks your nose, and then you wipe the sweat off his back.
So Maas and Mohr touch gloves to begin round
nice
number
front
2.
Kick. He might have caught his groin. He's going to take a second. Now he's ready to go. Blue hair, you can kick me there as much as you want.
Maas acknowledged that he knew it was an accident and was obviously not that shaken up by it. And Mohr trying to get the second underhook there and keep Maas up against the cage, but
nice knee. I know one thing, these kids training out of Tony Menifee's camp, they're going to have good hands. If he gets a chance to step back and expose them, we might get to see some heavy hits from Nate. Chris doing a good job staying close, though.
Maas going for the double leg takedown, and
Needs to trap that leg, turn it into a single, and drag him down. Use that fence. Needs to trip that leg. He's using too much arm. He's going to exert a lot of energy doing this, fighting against him.
Chris Mohr doing a great job of turning away the takedown attempt from Nate Maas.
He's sprawling his hips back, and that's what I was up at Premier the other day, like I said, and I'm seeing them really train the sprawl. And I guess for me, being a wrestler naturally, it's just natural to sprawl back. But guys that haven't wrestled their whole life, yeah, you need to teach the importance of a good sprawl. Uh-oh, he was working into a mount right here. Look at this.
So gets all the way past the guard and full mount of Chris Mohr. So we'll see if those hands, like you talk about, are able to be on display.
Yeah, big transition right here. Now you're going to see him really start landing some blows. He needs to work his knees up under the armpit to get a nice, tight, full mount, and he can go to work.
And if you're Chris Mohr, what are you looking to do right here?
Get out of there.
Do whatever it takes.
At this point in time, if the ref's not looking, I'm biting. No, seriously, he needs to buck and buck real hard. Use his neck, use his bridge, and buck him off you.
Using the fence to try to push off of, and
you can do that as long as you don't grab it with your toes.
Trying to walk it a little bit, walk over, and
he
almost has it.
Got it. Like I said, if he wants to secure this mount, he needs to walk his hips up to the top of his chest and get his legs under his armpit.
Chris Mohr just about turns Nate Maas, but Maas staying heavy on top of him.
You know, I don't know if I'd like to be mounted by somebody in them color of trunks with that color of hair, but it's working. It's working for Nate. That's all I could say is wow. He's taking control of this fight, and like I said, you know, anybody out of Premier is not anything to take lightly.
But Mohr also staying busy on the bottom and being able to land some shots from underneath. But Nate Maas still has that full mount.
And Nate needs to get active while he has that. You know, that's a waste of time to me right there. You're getting scored for having the mount, but do some damage.
Come to the end of round number 2, Dave Jobin. And there's a look at Danny Molina as he walks Chris Mohr to the corner, and there's
with that crooked nose.
Coach Menifee over. We're getting set for our third and final round. Just a reminder, our next fight coming up is Casey Lee, fighting out of Lincoln, Nebraska, taking on Sydney Salick. It's the first of 3 female fights here tonight at Dynasty Combat Sports. 6, Sydney Salick, an 18-year-old making her mixed martial arts debut, trains out of Premier Combat Center. And Casey Lee out of Unrivaled Sports Performance down in Lincoln, Nebraska. We've got a young man standing next to us. Jason the Hitman Brills is in the house tonight. A lot of the area fighters in the house tonight. And then our second fight after this one coming up, our 7th fight of the night, is Mike Gracie, a.k.a. Kaha Dekhanov, against Stephen Bass. So those are the next 2 fights coming up.
You're the professional. I'm letting you have that one. I'm calling him Mike.
Okay. We'll call him Mike Gracie like Coach Doyle does.
Like Coach Doyle does. Yeah, Coach Doyle's no dummy.
Third and final round. Who do you have rounds 1 and 2 going to? I didn't ask you yet.
So far, I'm seeing Nate winning this fight.
Okay.
You know,
2-0?
Yeah, I think he's been more dominant in both fights, and you're kind of seeing it from Mohr there, getting desperate, throwing some haymakers now.
So Mohr really is going to have to stop Nate Maas some way in order to get the victory.
Absolutely. I think he's doing it right now, though. I think he's got him in the position to end this fight.
Mouthpiece comes out. Chris Mohr on top of Nate Maas.
Jobin's not going to stop it in this position for a mouthpiece. Not until there's a major transition.
Looking to maybe posture himself up and rain down some elbows as well, and that's exactly what Chris Mohr is doing up against the cage. So for the first time tonight, Chris Mohr really in a dominant position, and hammer fist coming down.
Feeding him. Yeah, he's feeding him everything he got.
And he's got his left wrist trapped between his legs, and Nate Maas finally able to get out, but
Nate's taking
Chris Mohr gets the victory.
Got the win. Wow, look at that.
Chris Mohr had to get a stop in the 3rd round to win it, and that's exactly what the Premier Combat Center fighter does to improve his record to 2-1.
All right, that's why you got to love this sport, Matt. I mean, it's never over until it's over.
And I don't think Nate Maas is really going to be able to argue that too much. I mean, he was being dominated on top, and You know, Chris Mohr was raining down some shots. He had that left hand of his trapped between his
he was taking
leg.
a lot of punishment. And like I said, it's the referee's job to make sure these are amateurs. They're young fighters. They got years to come. They don't want to be wearing Velcro shoes in 2 years. They want to be able to tie the laces still. So the refs are doing a great job tonight of making sure the fight is decisive, but keeping people from getting long-term damage.
And you could see Dave Jobin there right on top of the action, was making sure.
Dave's a pro, man.
Absolutely.
He's been around for years.
So our fifth fight of the night is in the books, and Dave Jobin inside the cage with both fighters. Mike Kendall, our ring announcer, with the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, your referee, Dave Jobin, calls stop to this fight in 1 minute, 8 seconds of the third round for your